"Look at that woman over there." The man laughed. "That must be the foolish miss, right?" The foolish Miss Arna is obsessed with a decadent and extravagant lifestyle. She's also a fake noble with commoner blood. And because of her extremely shameless words and actions, she has become the laughingstock of the entire imperial capital. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say she's a disgrace to her family and should be lying low. Yet she has the nerve to sit on the cafe terrace, the very center of the social scene. She slowly raised her head. The man was captivated by her beauty, remarking that her looks were as beautiful as the rumors said. Just a moment ago, he was disparaging her. Now, he already wants to hit on her. All the man can think of now is that being beautiful is enough. Arna was stirring her coffee. The man had already sat down in front of her and greeted her. He asked the esteemed noble lady why she was out alone. Could it be that she was out to seduce men? She was slightly surprised. She asked how he knew she was looking for her ideal type. The man asked about her ideal type. She said it was a man who could be buried alive with her. The man instantly lost his composure. She even offered to ask if he knew what being buried alive with her meant. It means if she were to die first, a man who would willingly be buried alive in her tomb. The man felt utterly horrified. She continued, "A man who, if I get even slightly hurt, would feel such heartache, it's as if his own limbs were about to break off. That's all it takes," she said grimly. "But there are many difficulties in finding my ideal type. If you have such a selfless man around you, you could introduce him to me. Or perhaps you'd like to be a backup candidate." The man shot up, saying he had mistaken her for someone else. Then he hurried away. She sighed and said, of course he was mistaken, because she wasn't the foolish Miss Arna, but the peerless villainous Earl Kona. And she, Earl Kona, was a criminal of the Niran Duchy, condemned to death. On the day the duchy fell, during a fierce battle with the Develi Empire's army, she died on the battlefield. That should have been her end. But this damn mission. The mission log requires her to find true love. And it has to be with a master-level man. Otherwise, she will die. She sighed. Not only was she reborn in someone else's body, but she also had to complete such an absurd mission. The Develi Empire has a total of 3 master-level individuals. The first candidate is Crown Prince Keelsroad. Young and handsome, but he was the one who started the war. The main culprit behind the fall of the Niran Duchy, and the very person responsible for her death on the battlefield. The second candidate is the Magic Tower Master, Sheer Heisland. He only recently became the Tower Master, a young duke of the Develi Empire. Don't be fooled by his angelic face. His heart is very black. In her past life, she had secretly infiltrated the Magic Tower and purged it. The last candidate is the Merchant Guild Master, Resin Lo, the head of the prestigious Count Lo family of the Empire, a man renowned for his elegance. She doesn't understand who this kind of mission is even for. She doesn't need this troublesome resurrection. It all began a month ago at the funeral of this body's owner. 1 month ago, such a young lady passed away, yet not a single family member came to her funeral. She was rumored to be a famous fool. Every time she attended a banquet, she would wear a pink dress. She was also a notorious flirt. It was noisy outside. She was deep in slumber, unaware of where she was. She opened her eyes and found that her body couldn't move, as if she had taken an anesthetic. The people outside were talking. After all, the atmosphere in the capital isn't great. Everyone probably only came because of the Medina family's reputation. Even though it wasn't said to her, she was still angry after hearing it. The high, ornate ceiling was impressive, a pungent smell of burning incense. And these flowers placed on her body, surrounded by the Imperial Knights. She was gradually losing her breath. So this was very likely her funeral, but offering flowers to a king lying in a coffin. This is an Imperial-style funeral. Who would dare to hold an Imperial-style funeral for a general of the Niran Duchy? Unless she was now possessing someone else. Someone came in. It was a maid who said she wanted to offer a flower to the young lady. She quickly closed her eyes. The maid walked over and said, serving this incredibly picky, half-noble young lady was truly a pain. I'll take good care of her jewels. The thought of never seeing the young lady lose her temper at me again makes me so happy. She was so angry she couldn't bear it anymore. She opened her eyes, startling the girl. She actually sat up from inside the coffin. "Where's this?" she asked. Her head ached. Those people were shouting to stab her to death. So she said with a smile, "I was just curious about what would happen after I died, so I faked my death." The 3 of them were shocked, saying she had no heartbeat at the time. She calmly stated that there are suspended animation potions in this world. The man asked if she had been pretending to be crazy before. Her expression changed. She said it was just a test to filter out people like him. And as for what they just said inside, should she, like a madwoman, go and make a scene at the Grand Temple? What would happen if the high priest found out they were bad-mouthing the deceased? Unless they don't mind being sent to work in the countryside. Then she had a maid come up to help her. Although she didn't know what was going on, she was still alive. The house is quite large, but it feels like it's about to collapse. She does like this face, though. But these hands probably can't even swing a dagger. Her past self, Earl Kona Liya, belonging to the now-fallen Niran Duchy, formerly known as the E-Kingdom. She was the captain of the Niran Duchy's secret death squad, Cluny. Her last memory is of the day the Niran Duchy fell, fighting against the Imperial Army. The owner of her current body, Arna Medina, belongs to the Daiveli Empire, which is in the hands of Crown Prince Keels. The empire is currently the undisputed strongest nation in the world. Arna's origin is the Medina family, one of the 10 great noble families of the empire. But she is called the Foolish Miss by everyone. Her mother was of noble birth, while her father was a wandering mercenary. It's widely known that she is the product of their elopement. Her mother has passed away. Her father entrusted Arna to the Medinas, her maternal family, and then disappeared. She could just die from anger. She's practically an orphan. The circumstances of this body are just so terrible. Her homeland, the Niran Duchy, was a country overrun by monsters and rampant with criminals, built upon abandoned lands by abandoned people. Illegal drug manufacturing was widespread, and it was even the world's only hotbed of crime that permitted slavery. And in her past life, during her childhood, she was a lowest-class slave, dragged into a dungeon to mine magic stones. But she miraculously learned swordsmanship, gradually grew stronger, and eventually became the world's strongest, earning the title of master. From a lowest-class slave, she became a high-ranking general of the Niran Duchy and the captain of the secret death squad. Even after becoming a master, she continued to live as a slave of the Niran Duchy until her death in battle. The reason she was bound to the duchy was because of the heart stone embedded in her chest. A person with a heart stone embedded in them becomes a slave unable to disobey their master's orders. They embedded heart stones in her and her squad members, turning them into their slaves. They also said that as long as they let a demon god possess the duchy's strongest warrior, Earl Kona, they could defeat the empire. But they ultimately failed. She broke free from her bonds. Who would have thought that the demon summoning ritual would go wrong and shatter the heartstone in her body? The duchy was in a panic. This was her only chance. Having broken free from her shackles, she slaughtered the leaders of the Niran Duchy. She felt the joy of revenge. She said to the members of the death squad, "You are free. I will finish the country's final battle alone." Such an ending, she actually thought it was pretty cool. That's what she originally thought. Who knew she would be reborn? The maid came over and told her to behave and not cause any trouble, seeing that she could write. The maid's expression was somewhat mocking. Her face turned cold. She asked, "Since when did you start calling me Miss AR?" Mira said mockingly, "Is it because of the fake death? Is your memory a little confused now?" Her name is Mira, Arna's only servant. Although she said some awful things at the funeral, through a few days of observation, she found her to be a rather useful source of information. However, to make her talk obediently, a little acting was needed. For example, pretending to have memory loss now. That way she would talk. The reason she was called AR was because she disliked Na. She said the name Na was given to her by her father, a foreigner. By the way, with the atmosphere in the capital like this, you're still causing trouble. I wonder how angry the masters of the family will be. The family head is ill, and the others are at a resort. She fell into thought after hearing this. Their child died, yet they are on vacation. This family is truly a mess. The information she provided gave her a lot to work with. However, the protagonist leaned in and asked, "Have you seen my jewelry box?" Mira was startled when she heard this. "How did you know?" She said, "You said you didn't trust me. Such a disgrace. You never let me touch those valuables." She awkwardly brushed her hair back and said, "I see. You may leave first." Mira probably planned to take the jewels and run away immediately after the funeral. She was just curious where things were hidden and asked tentatively. Her gaze clearly shifted towards the inside of the room. An hard-to-reach place in this room. Under the bed. Let's have a look then. Sure enough, there was a clever door next to the bed. There's even a secret underground room. What a terrible taste. There are even magic stone lamps hanging here. Suddenly, she noticed a huge demon summoning ritual on the floor. It was drawn with paint, and the offering was just a sausage. This pen is real. Isn't this an extremely expensive holy relic? You can tell it contains powerful demonic energy just by looking at it. Underneath, there's a note. Arna offered a sacrifice and made a wish to have a passionate love affair with the most outstanding man. She also wants to become the most distinguished young lady. Please let everything go smoothly for her. And please don't let her get caught. Looking at the words, she couldn't control her expression. The handwriting of a child, she muttered. Then she noticed the system display. It asked if she would accept the mission. There's a penalty for not accepting the mission. No way, she thought, but someone appeared from behind her. That won't do, he said. I am Certus, the youngest son of the demon god family. The name sounded very familiar to her. The duchy had said that would have the demon god Certus possess her to become the strongest warrior. So the perfect sacrifice was her. The demon god those guys wanted to summon onto her. To have such an innocent face, yet be a demon god. He's the one who made her see that strange thing. The person in this body now is Earl Kona, who was sacrificed to him 6 months ago. The failure of the ritual caused him to be only half summoned. He has been trapped in the portal between the demon world and the human world. A short while ago, someone initiated a summoning ritual, so he came. The original owner of this body, Arna, was so shocked by his summoning that she died of heart failure. But why is she in this body? He explained the system and rules of the demon world to the protagonist. The protagonist felt it had nothing to do with her and tried to run, but was stopped. He asked her if she felt anything was off. She thought about it carefully. A demon god is an existence comparable to a deity. Why could she only feel such faint demonic power from him? He said that in human terms, he's broke. Arna's soul did not return, and your soul entered her body. As long as the wish is granted, he can go back. He resurrected you, so you should help grant the wish. Find true love. Become a distinguished young lady. In any case, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world, so you must do it. And the most outstanding men written in the letter have all had bad encounters with her. And she even has to form an imprint. She really wants to kill the person in front of her. The so-called imprint is a love pact made between high-ranking demons. Due to the innate killing instincts of high-level demons, when they find their true love, they form an imprint in order not to harm their partner. Afterward, they will share a portion of their pain or emotions with their partner. If they lose the subject of their imprint, they will suffer a pain worse than death for the rest of their lives. This is also known as the most perfect union in the world, almost to the point of being buried alive for the other. Considering the special nature of this mission, within the Empire, I have carefully selected several master-level men as your candidates. As long as you can complete the mission, I won't take back your soul, allowing you to fully enjoy the joy of resurrection. But if the mission fails, I will still take your soul. For them, there is absolutely no need to complete this mission. A master-level soul like yours, customer, is a focus of attention in our industry. So if the mission fails, your great soul will be mine. In other words, the ones who sacrificed her were those guys from the Niran Duchy. The one who made the wish was Arna. Yet she has to bear all the consequences. The protagonist asked, "Isn't your demonic power exhausted? How about we have a fight?" Although her current body is very weak, it should still be more than enough to deal with him. He chuckled and said she would be in big trouble if she did that. Of course, he would be utterly defeated. The protagonist punched him directly. "How do I do the imprint?" she asked. At this moment, the system displayed a screen. This is the pattern of the imprint. When the conditions for imprinting with the other person are met, the pattern will turn red. When that time comes, just pull it out and move it onto the other person. Of course, you must get the other person's consent before doing this. Press the question mark on this mission window to summon me. Use it with caution. Now I must leave. However, the protagonist's blade pressed against him. She asked, "Are these really the only conditions to complete the mission?" Arna's wish was much longer than this, yet the conditions are so few. Are you joking with me using this mission window? And I've been curious since just now. What would happen if I just killed a god directly? Then I wouldn't have to complete the mission, right? Hearing this, the shadow revealed an excited smile, saying, "The customer's soul will surely be delicious." The protagonist punched him directly. He quickly added, "You also have to obtain a social status or reputation no less than that of the candidates to complete the mission. Other than that, there's nothing else." She felt extremely frustrated to actually have to face a romance mission she had never imagined in her life. This challenge was unbelievably novel and terrifying. The next day, she planned to organize her thoughts. As for the imprint candidates, she knew all the masters in the Empire from her past life. A so-called master is someone who has reached the 9-ring magic circle. A magic circle is a power that surges around the body, making a person stronger. Swordsmen convert the magic circle into a power called aura to use. Mages process it into mana to use. A master swordsman who reaches the 9th ring is called a sword master. And a master mage is also called an archmage. Of course, there are also magic swordsmen like her who are proficient in both. In short, the Develi Empire has a total of 3 masters. They are the most suitable candidates. Afternoon tea time. Mira rudely brought tea and told her to drink it quickly so she could clean up. She had tolerated this insolent maid to figure out her surroundings. Now that she had a good grasp of the situation, it was time to teach the unruly servant a lesson. The protagonist slowly approached her, stared into her eyes, and asked, "What do you want? Speak." Mira felt immense pressure. The young lady was just looking at her, but she felt terrified. The protagonist smiled and said, "It feels strange, doesn't it? The human body has many weaknesses. There are some spots that, with just a light press of magic, you will feel immense pain. It would be easy to make one of your internal organs fail completely." Mira didn't know when the young lady gained magic power. She was terrified and quickly knelt to beg for mercy. In truth, magic power can't harm a person's body like that. It can only instill fear. But she had no need to tell her that. The protagonist asked her what she said last night. "Was it something about me behaving while you were combing my hair? Do you want to wait for the family head to return and be severely punished?" The protagonist was going to teach her how to be a loyal servant. "First, think about what you did wrong." She said she was wrong to talk back to the young lady and speak without manners. The protagonist crouched down and said she was really bad at reading a room. She suddenly understood. All this time, she had only been taking cues from the butler. "You're being so obvious." The protagonist stood up. "Your mistakes aren't just that. Didn't you plan to steal things right after your master died? What would happen if I reported you for theft? I hear the prison for thieves is damp and cold, and you'll starve for days. You can forget about this life of eating and drinking well. You'll spend your days just listening to the sound of cockroaches crawling by. If you meet an ill-tempered cellmate, you might even get beaten every day." The protagonist asked coldly, "Do you want to go and experience it for yourself?" Mira was terrified after hearing this and started playing the victim, asking the young lady to give her one last chance. The protagonist told her to prove it with her actions. After the demon god disappeared, in the basement, she noticed a light nearby. So this was the secret base where the jewels were hidden. In any case, this should be enough to spend for a while. The protagonist handed her the earrings, saying that if her behavior and attitude didn't change, she would report her for stealing this pair of earrings. But if she could change her attitude, this would be her reward. "Keep it with you. If you do well, I will teach you how to be a proper maid. I'll even teach you to read and write." Mira was silent for a long time before asking, "Who are you?" That beautiful face clearly belonged to the newly adult Miss Arna, but her aura was that of a completely different person. The protagonist made an excuse and then told her to quickly take the teacup away and bring a new one, and the system showed that her reputation had increased. She started to think perhaps doing bad things can also raise one's reputation. After all, this is a mission from a demon god. Infamy is also a type of fame. Mira was already proactively massaging her feet. She also got the chance to learn how to write. The ill-tempered maid had been tamed by her. As expected, I still need to retrieve my Information Guild account, and my fan, just in case. She had stored a spare fan in a secret vault at the credit bank in the imperial capital. She had to make a trip to the bank. Mira came over, saying she had bought some food. Knowing she was going out, Mira reminded her that the butler had told her to monitor the young lady. She didn't plan to go during the day. This trip would be absolutely stealthy, or so she said. Who knew that when night came, she would run into someone unexpected? She shouldn't have gone out tonight. She ran into the Crown Prince on her first outing, a few hours earlier in the palace. Earl Kona's fan. Although the campaign to subjugate the Niren Duchy ended half a year ago, there are still many lingering issues to resolve. His Highness, as a war hero and the Crown Prince, surely has an extraordinary sense of responsibility. His Highness is still holding the fan of the Niren Duchy's villainous. Livell, the captain of the Crown Prince's special forces, walked in and said, "Your Highness has been looking at records about her." Orin thinks His Highness must be looking at her belongings while savoring his hatred for the duchy. Without an eyesore of an opponent, I feel truly bored. Until recently, the empire was in the hands of the regent minister, who ruled in place of the old and frail emperor. The prime minister, who was from the Niren Duchy, secretly aided the duchy. Under his influence, the wealth of corrupt imperial nobles was all sent outside the empire, leaving behind that large garbage dump filled with all kinds of illegal entertainment, smuggling, and money laundering activities. The list of nobles, led by the prime minister, who were involved in all the duchy's crimes, is the Crown Prince's blacklist. Crown Prince Keels cultivated his own power, brought down the prime minister, and after successfully subjugating the Niran Duchy, began to deal with the people on the blacklist one by one. What shocked them was that the Crown Prince intended to deal with the people on this list simply because he was bored. The adults thought this matter would cause a stir. An urgent report came from the door. Those guys at the credit bank have taken the bait. The prey he was waiting for has finally fallen into the trap. Let's go. I was just getting bored. The prey has delivered itself to my door. Meanwhile, at the credit bank. The Imperial Credit Bank is a place where imperial nobles launder the money they illegally earned in the Niran Duchy. The magic spirit guarding the vault is the same as always. One wrong entry and the vault closes immediately. The password is very complex. I must concentrate. Finally, the door opened. She found a corresponding locker. The butterflies she folded by hand with her magic in her past life. The butterflies are still alive, but perhaps because their souls are the same, they recognized her at once and will obey her commands. She suffered so much in her past life, but all the valuables in the dungeon were taken away. In the end, only this money was left. A sound came from upstairs. Above this vault is the VIP room. The butterflies have something to do after a long time. Go and capture it. Let's use the Medina family for the voice. Then let's push all the blame onto their family. The protagonists smelled a conspiracy. The credit bank is used by imperial nobles who need to launder their illegal gains from the Niran Duchy. And the Niran Duchy, which hoped their funds would continue to flow in. It was a product of their cooperation. Therefore, from the design stage, mages from Niran Duchy were mobilized to create the security barrier, and she was one of them. This means she knows the structure of this building. Those people want to target the Medina family. That's her family now. Naturally, she can't just sit by and do nothing, so she plans to go and find them. He said happily, "This is great." Crown Prince Keels said he would forgive us. With so many nobles coming to this bank, he wouldn't have the guts to target me. The ones taking action are all old acquaintances. She remembers their faces. They released ferocious beasts and monsters in a huge hunting ground and pushed people into the arena to have cruel duels with them. Out of several hundred people, only a handful could survive the carnival. They were the ones in the front row VIP seats, smiling and applauding. The organizers of a cruel competition who colluded with the Niran Duchy and made a fortune. His blood pressure rose just seeing these sinners still living well. Keels successfully subjugated the duchy, yet he let this trash go. His Highness the Crown Prince is quite good at compromising with these corrupt noble factions. How should we deal with this? As long as one person volunteers to admit to holding the carnival in the Niran Duchy, he'll forgive everyone. Someone said, let's just push the blame onto those commoners or poor relatives. We don't even need to think too hard. Why not just push it onto the Medina family? Their eldest son, the young master, wasn't he always working with them before? Or are we just saying that foolish young lady from their family did something strange again? She held some kind of fake funeral. Just then, a strong gust of wind blew through the window. The Crown Prince walked in and said, "How interesting. Who do they plan to make the scapegoat?" They quickly knelt down, saying they were gathered to carry out His Highness's orders. That's why they were gathered. One of them stood up, trembling, and said that as his subjects, they wanted to share His Highness's burdens. To find the organizer of the carnival. His Highness said he didn't know what he was talking about. Live outside. Just offer one sacrifice, and he will pardon all of your sins. They asked, did His Majesty propose such an outrageous condition? The female protagonist hadn't seen this face in a long time either. Is his name Livell? Keels has two loyal retainers, or you could call them attack dogs. One is the indoor attack dog, the aide Orin, who is skilled in strategy. The other is the hunting attack dog, bringing those two with him. Looks like he's planning to make a big move. She has to be careful not to be discovered. A woman asked in confusion. That's not what he said before. His Highness said enough. They actually gathered to follow my orders? This is good news. The man thought the prince's reaction was not bad. The Crown Prince's tone changed. He said, the things he did in the duchy, worse than pigs and dogs, are rather hard to forgive, aren't they? Purge them all. See you in the underworld. Seeing this, the female protagonist could only think he was a madman. That guy was always this kind of person. How could he possibly compromise with corrupt nobles? I absolutely cannot get involved this time. I don't want to end up like that. The Crown Prince sensed something was off. He said, it seems there's a rat hiding here. The female protagonist immediately had a bad feeling. He spotted her hiding place with a single glance. She had no choice but to use the butterflies in her hand. Even if he recognizes me, there's nothing I can do. His Highness the Crown Prince watched in astonishment. It reminded him of that person. The butterflies shimmering with golden light. Earl Kona, scattered at a touch. He thought he was hallucinating, and behind him, someone was trying to assassinate him. But to him, it was a pathetically weak attack. Soon, the attacker was kicked to the ground. It seems he has a lot to say. He thinks he's a member of one of the Empire's 10 great noble families. Taking down a few lackeys is nothing to brag about. But to him, the person before him is also a lackey. No need to feel wronged. Farewell. The female protagonist ran through the bushes. Heaven never seals off all paths. Luckily, a carriage was waiting. She offered double the price, and the driver finally agreed to go. The next day, the crown prince was lost in thought. He knew those were clearly that woman's butterflies. He thought he was going crazy. Although they were enemies, she was an outstanding woman, a brilliant swordswoman and magician. She was the rival he truly wanted. A few years ago, in a certain dungeon, he tried to persuade the woman before him to become his. But she smiled and asked why he didn't become her subordinate instead. Such a handsome man would be the most brilliant jewel in a garbage heap. He made a bet with the woman that he could make her kneel before him. Then she would belong to him. If she won, it would be the same. The woman agreed. The ultimate victor would possess everything of the other. She smiled, moved closer, and said, "Understood? Pretty prince." She was a woman who was very good at teasing people, and she didn't keep her promise. He destroyed the Niren Duchy, the side that had sworn to win. Her life was supposed to be his, just like the butterflies she used when she was alive. Even now, he was unwilling to believe the fact that she was dead. An aide had something to report to him. It was about the Medina family. That was a family that produced outstanding knights. It was also once a family that forged fine swords, but now it's in decline. The young master of the Medina family seems to have been trying to curry favor with the chancellor to get on his side. Although he's not on the blacklist, he's a candidate to be added. Besides that, the chancellor doesn't seem to have paid him much mind. Actually, the bigger problem isn't their young master, but the family head's maternal granddaughter. The Medina family's maternal granddaughter. Could she be a powerful swordswoman? After all, it's a family that produced outstanding knights. At that moment, Livell suddenly shouted no. Oren was startled and couldn't help but get angry at him. Livell scratched his head, saying he had just fallen asleep. Oren turned back and continued speaking. At the Holy War victory banquet held after the Niren Duchy campaign, she once stared at His Highness so intently that she accidentally fell into the champagne tower. Keels thought she was a fool, but that young lady has caused trouble recently. She held a fake funeral. Livell thought that young lady was a genius. He wanted to hold his own funeral in advance too. And more importantly, they also received intelligence that the young lady recently bought some smuggled goods related to demon god worship. He was very shocked. The Empire believes in the main god and shuns demon gods, especially performing rituals to make wishes to a demon god through sacrifice. This is a serious crime in the Empire. I heard what she bought was a very precious ancient dagger. Committing such a grave crime at this time must be punished. Keel stood up and said he would handle this matter. Since it's a smuggling case, we might also catch people from the Niren Duchy. Try to make it a public execution. Their Highness's interrogation. One session is enough to make anyone break down in tears. May she rest in peace. At the same time, at Arna's villa in the Medina estate. How could I have forgotten about this? Mira came in and asked her what was wrong. Are you feeling all right? I have something urgent to do now. Since I couldn't get the money from the vault, I'll have to open up some other pockets first. I'm going to the intelligence guild right away. I was like this after just a little running yesterday. This body is too weak. Mira didn't want her to go out. If the butler finds out, he'll definitely give you a harsh scolding. Besides, the maid said the young master is coming back. I really have something urgent to do, and the dagger in this drawer is real. It's a sacred relic of an ancient demon god cult, a dagger that once successfully summoned a true demon god. The demon god cultists even offered living sacrifices to it for 3 years with utmost devotion. Mira asked, trembling, "Then what if this dagger is discovered?" She continued, "I could be executed on the spot." Mira was shocked and asked why she had it, telling her to throw it away immediately. But this kind of thing leaves a trace, demonic energy. The site of the demon god summoning ritual in the basement will also be discovered. To eliminate the demonic energy, I need a material called magic herb. The problem is magic herb is extremely rare. It can only be bought with great difficulty through the Intelligence Guild. I must contact the Intelligence Guild immediately today. Keel seems to be frantically driving those who once colluded with the Chancellor to their deaths. And those guys, who were basically the Chancellor's lackeys to Keel's, mentioned the Medina family at the credit bank. If we really have any connection to this Chancellor, who exploited the common people and manipulated the nobility until the moment of his downfall, then the demonic energy filling this house will definitely become leverage in the Crown Prince's hands. I don't plan on finding a new identity yet. The Medina family must avoid being annihilated, so the mission won't be affected. I must make a preemptive strike. I just need to get rid of that leverage as soon as possible. Mira was very worried, so she came out with a young lady. The female protagonist encouraged her, "Be confident, walk with your back straight." Soon, they arrived at the shop's entrance. The two coordinated their story. She said she wasn't feeling well today and needed her to take care of her. Mira confidently told her not to worry. Arriving at the front desk, the female protagonist spoke the shop's secret code. The waiter indeed relented and led her to a private room. The female protagonist smiled. Cube Seafood. This strangely named tavern is a secret front for the Intelligence Guild. Arriving in the private room, the female protagonist gave her account password and answered some additional questions. Finally, the extra verification was also passed. Verification successful. She asked about the deposit she had left here. She wanted to buy a few things. She directly bought 5 stalks of magic herb and information on the whereabouts of Master Resin. Only a rookie would solve one problem at a time. I'll handle 2 things at once. I can both safely avoid the madman and complete this crazy mission. But the shopkeeper couldn't give it to her immediately, and it wasn't a matter of money. Mira looked at the young lady, wondering, is she going to use that method? On the way, the young lady had told her to remember today's events, as it would be of great help to her later. It was about how to negotiate. When you want something, just keep repeating this sentence. The female protagonist directly offered a price in Starro that used up all her assets, and her attitude was firm. No matter what the shopkeeper brought up, she just repeated the same sentence. In the end, the shopkeeper's head practically exploded. He agreed to the deal. Mira thought the young lady was so amazing. The young lady who, until recently, was treated as a madwoman by everyone and called the foolish miss. But now, she was inexplicably cool. When pressed by Mira about how she knew this place, she said she saw it while wandering around outside before. However, at this moment, she suddenly felt a murderous aura. She handed the items to Mira and said, "From now on, run in the opposite direction from me. Run straight to the basement of my room. Burn the magic herb according to the method I told you." And so, the two of them split up and ran in different directions. But she had reached a dead end. A flash of sword aura passed before her eyes. The only person in the Empire who could use this technique. That was Keels. By Imperial law, due to your suspected worship of a demon god, I am arresting you tonight. Damn it, I still ended up meeting him. The female protagonist pretended not to know Keels. He had already tied her up directly. He had received intelligence that someone had smuggled an ancient dagger. Do you know that worshipping a demon god is punishable by immediate execution? Once anything is found in your residence, your life is mine. Crown Prince Keels. Although he was in a position admired by all, Keels' life was not so smooth sailing. For many years, while the old and frail emperor was supplanted by the chancellor, he was expelled from the royal family. He experienced all sorts of hardships, which ultimately led Keels to harbor immense hatred for the portion of the imperial nobility that followed the chancellor. He became abnormally vicious regarding anything even slightly connected to them. She was a little worried now, but she could only stall for time. Being led away, she saw there were no subordinates on standby nearby. Well, that changes things. So she pretended to be angry and stopped, acting indignant about being arrested. Keels recited many regulations to her. We just need to search your residence, and we'll find the evidence immediately. Hurry up and follow me. However, she thought of a method. She said she knew who he was. You're a scammer using entrapment, using this method to get people to pay fines. Being called a scammer to his face, Keels said, "Interesting," and drew his sword, cutting the rope. The female protagonist was genuinely frightened. She accused him, "You're a hooligan, to swing a sword directly at me." However, Keels retorted, "Who are you, to be able to untie the rope in such a short moment? You don't seem like an ordinary fool." The female protagonist just mocked him. "If you want to scam people, you need more practice. When you swing your sword around like that, of course the rope will be cut." The female protagonist mocked his swordsmanship, and he attacked her directly. Although the female protagonist dodged clumsily, her mouth didn't stop. "Are you taking it out on me because your scam was exposed?" After a few moves, Keels felt a sense of familiarity, both in her tone of voice and her movements. The female protagonist was still laughing lightly, asking who made him lose focus. Keels grabbed her wrist. "Who are you, really? Your skills are very practiced. Not something an ordinary noble lady can do." As he got closer, the female protagonist kicked at his leg, saying, "People can display extraordinary strength when they're about to die." Keels frowned and tackled her directly to the ground. He kept questioning who she was. The female protagonist didn't know how he saw through her. But for now, it was best to run. Climbing onto the wall, she said with a smile, "I don't like such clingy men. I'll be taking my leave," leaving Keels alone there. That flash of light just now was very familiar to him. Oren ran over and said, "You suddenly disappeared after stopping the carriage. We've been looking for you for a long time." Keels said with a smile, "I happened to find my prey, that foolish noble lady. But she escaped." Oren was a little surprised. "There's someone your highness couldn't catch? Shouldn't she have been killed by your highness on the spot?" He said he wasn't sure either. Then he ordered, "Send the inquisitors to the Medina residence. Find evidence of the suspect's demon god worship and then arrest her. I'll interrogate her properly then." Meanwhile, the female protagonist had arrived on a boat. The person in front of her was the great merchant guild master, Rezin. What a golden opportunity. Although she had jumped off a bridge to escape, she felt hopeless at the thought of swimming in a robe and skirt. But she didn't fall into the water. Instead, she floated up and landed safely on the boat. And he even helped her hide. At first, she thought he was a kidnapper, but she never expected it to be Rezin. She was so lucky. But hearing Rezin's words of concern and him knowing her name made her panic. Arna and Rezin actually knew each other. To avoid being found out, she could only pretend not to know. She even pretended not to know what the prince looked like, praising the man as handsome. Rezin laughed out loud. He said, "That's more like you. Still so reckless." It seems he really knew this body's original owner, Arna. But how did the two of them know each other? Drinking the hot tea, the female protagonist asked, "Where is this boat headed now?" Rezin said with a smile that he wasn't kidnapping her, but taking her home. He had already heard that she held a fake funeral recently. In the tone of an elder, Rezin asked when she would be a good girl. The female protagonist chuckled. "That depends on who I meet. After all, my situation is complicated." Rezin said she had changed. The her he met a few years ago was always timid and frightened. Hearing her start to make excuses, Rezin's expression turned serious. He asked if her father was well. The female protagonist breathed a sigh of relief. So he knew her father, but the two of them hadn't seen each other recently, so she didn't know his situation either. Rezin explained why he was here. He said the night was beautiful, and he hadn't expected to meet someone unexpected. The female protagonist invited him to come for tea more often in the future, but was refused. He wanted to know her story. But Rezin smiled and moved closer, saying, "No, you should go home." Before leaving, Rezin advised her, "Don't sneak out at night in the future. It's better to be a good girl." Unexpectedly, he ended up talking about her sister, saying that incident wasn't her fault. Arna has a sister? Or maybe Arna's uncle has children, so it's her cousin? I'll have to look into this later. Mira was trying hard to complete the young lady's task. Before they separated, she had instructed her to burn the magic herb in the four corners of the room as quickly as possible. But magic herb is a magical organism that corrodes rapidly when it meets water. But she still brought water, afraid of starting a fire here. Meanwhile, people had already entered the residence to conduct a surprise inspection of the room. If the suspicion is confirmed, then everyone in the Medina family will have to be interrogated. The female protagonist was hiding in the bushes, watching. So they sent the Inquisitors after all. The Inquisitors belong to the Royal Special Forces. They're Keels' claws and teeth. As a group that worships the main god with extreme devotion, they can even find the faintest trace of demonic energy hidden in the cracks. Returning to her room, she found Mira crying. She said she made a mistake. Under the name of the absolutely faithful main god, the final judgment is coming. Keels won't let me go. The only options left are to die here, or be severely tortured and then burned to death. But I can't give up now. What's coming has finally come. She took off her outer clothes and lay on the bed, planning to first play dumb, then act shamelessly. Mira tried to block them at the door, but the butler stopped her, saying the young lady is a fool. Even if she fails, it's her own failure. The female protagonist was furious listening from inside. What a bastard. As someone who serves me, he hasn't even greeted me, let alone shown his face at all. That guy must have handed over the villa keys immediately just now. That's why the Inquisitors could barge into my room so quickly. Mira said, at least give my lady time to change her clothes. The female protagonist played along, asking, who are those madmen? The person who came was actually Livell. Looks like Heels is quite angry. If I don't give this my 120 focus, I'll probably be dragged to the stake. But I'm not that easy to deal with. The female protagonist smiled and asked who he was. Barging into someone's room without a word is very rude. Livell hadn't planned on introducing himself, but since she said that, he could only bow and introduce himself. The female protagonist found his awkwardness quite amusing. The two began to discuss business. After hearing him, the female protagonist started to play dumb. You suspect me of worshipping a demon god? This is slander. Livell said this was a serious crime. The female protagonist played dumb. He didn't want to explain further and directly ordered his men to search. Seeing that they were about to enter, the female protagonist took off her outer robe. She knew the Inquisitor's weakness very well. They were all composed of unmarried men and women who accepted the main gods, well, more piously than anyone. Under any circumstances, if they were in the same space as a member of the opposite sex who had taken off their clothes, they would have to take responsibility and marry them. She threatened them that she would take off her clothes. Livell was helpless and asked what she wanted. I just want to be cleared of suspicion. If the suspicion is cleared, who will compensate me for this humiliation I've suffered? A group of men barged into my room early in the morning. If news of this gets out, will you take responsibility for me? After all, people in Empire already whisper about me all day because I'm a half-noble. Add this to it, and I'm finished. Livell quickly corrected her. If you hadn't smuggled items for demon god worship in the first place, we wouldn't have come. However, at this moment, the female protagonist lifted her hair and said, so His Highness the Crown Prince slandered me, right? Because he's captivated by my beauty. If you dare to arrest me, I'll shout on the streets that His Highness the Crown Prince was captivated by my beauty and used all sorts of tricks on me. Livell only felt a sense of terror. This woman was no ordinary fool. From her eyes alone, something was completely off. She demanded he write a letter of guarantee. If there is no demonic energy in this room, or no evidence proving the existence of demonic energy, you will never pursue this matter again. Livell said it was impossible. I just work for His Highness. How could I have that much authority? But the female protagonist knew his identity and exposed it directly. But Livell still didn't agree. There's nothing more to discuss. She directly told Mira to take off her clothes. The Inquisitors let out a collective wail. They didn't want to marry her. Livell reminded her, with something like demonic energy, even the faintest trace is considered evidence if it can be sensed. Don't waste your energy. But the female protagonist stuck to her idea. He could only give in. He agreed to write the letter of guarantee, but couldn't guarantee that His Highness wouldn't be suspicious. The investigation began. They searched from night until day. It was a total mess. But thankfully, Mira handled things quite well. So far, nothing has happened. But at this moment, someone discovered her secret space. Myra's reaction was too big. Livell noticed it. They've searched until morning. How could it not be discovered? Maybe it will be found in the basement. They had some powder that could sense demonic energy. If there was demonic energy, the powder would float. But unexpectedly, the powder sank. They planned to go in and take a look. The female protagonist tried to stop them, saying they would regret it if they went down. But this reaction of hers deepened Livell's suspicion. He even threatened that if she continued to obstruct their work, he wouldn't be polite anymore. News came from below. He smiled and asked Arna to go down and see together. Livell went down excitedly and asked what they had found. They said there was indeed a small altar here, but it seemed to be an altar for praying to the main god, completely in accordance with the rites. There was also a written note on the altar. It said, goal, make them mastermind. Keels was shocked. The female protagonist was very embarrassed. She had previously instructed Mira not to let it touch water. If it touched water, burning it immediately would also clear the demonic energy. But she also had to take down the words she had hung on the wall to motivate herself. But she didn't take them down. This was why Mira had been so worried. In her past life, she was naturally independent. In order to stay true to herself in any situation, she would write down her hopes and desires and post them on the wall. But no matter what, she didn't want others to see these primitive desires of hers. Livell was still awkwardly shouting go for it. On the side, the problem was solved. As for the letter of guarantee, let's just keep it a secret between us. After all, if my superior sees it, I'll be in a difficult position. I'll keep this safe, but if you're investigated again, I plan to hand it over to His Highness. It's strange. Why'd I smell the scent of my hometown on the young lady? The female protagonist suddenly became alert. Right, this guy is also from the Nearin Duchy. It's just that our fates are different. She explained, my biological father was a mercenary, so I might have a similar aura to you. Livell understood. So you like wild men. The matter ended well. But Livell still wanted to take her note. Livell even said with regret, I'm an ultimate master, not just a master. Master is determined by the stage of the magic circle. Those who can achieve 1 to 3 layers of the magic circle are called junior masters. Those who can achieve 4 to 8 layers of the magic circle are called ultimate masters. In fact, reaching this level also requires talent. Starting from the ultimate master level, the number of people who can be called truly strong is countless. An 8-layer magic circle is already close to the master level. He needed to remember this. He just didn't know why he was told this. He just repeated, it's all right. In any case, she's not a master. As Livell left, he thought to himself that she was truly a charming young lady. Keels was already waiting for him. He asked if he had captured the person. Livell didn't dare to speak. His Highness had said he must capture that young lady, but he had failed. He only brought back evidence of a young lady's devotion to the main god. Keel stepped forward to take the flower and found the scent on it very familiar. One sniff, and he knew she had burned magic herbs. Although she is very suspicious, he has no evidence now. Even if he captures her now, she could be released just by paying a fine. Unbeknownst to him, has the bar for being a fool been raised? It seems he needs to keep a close eye on that fool and her Medina family. Because he failed his mission, His Highness would punish him with the penalty reserved for when the special forces violate regulations. Livell left, dejected. On the way, he met Orin. He asked about His Highness's mood. Livell didn't understand why he asked. Orin said His Highness had a rare good night's sleep today, so his mood should be good, because ever since the war ended, His Highness has been sleeping poorly. It's been half a year. The doctor said he can't take it anymore, but His Majesty said he slept for 10 hours last night without dreaming. Meanwhile, the female lead didn't sleep all night. Just as she was about to rest, a knock came from the door. The butler came to condemn her. He said if something like this happened again because of the young lady, he would absolutely not let it go. The female lead felt like her ears were hurting. She asked, so what? The butler said angrily, first, from now on, you are forbidden from going out or I will lock you up. He originally didn't want to speak today, but the person before him was too outrageous. He directly asked her who on earth she was to dare impersonate the family head's granddaughter. Although he had heard many bizarre stories, this was the first time he'd heard something so strange. He had received instructions long ago. She was not actually a descendant of their family. Since she was just living under their roof, it was enough to treat her with the lowest level of courtesy. After hearing this, he immediately called for the head maid, telling the maids to get angry and intimidate her from now on. The maids didn't know why. She has become very strange now. Has she really gone mad? He could only make verbal threats, saying the young master will be back soon. He would definitely not ignore the young lady's recent reckless behavior. But then he was kicked right out the door, and he could only stand there and angrily shout, "This crazy woman!" The female lead couldn't help but laugh. He's got a lot of lung power. Mira was worried the butler would cause trouble, but she said you can't speak nicely to people like that. There's no need to respect him either. She was quite surprised by her change in attitude. Seeing the butler reminded her of her former self. At this point, Mira was reflecting on herself, and now she could finally rest. Before sleeping, she glanced at the mission log. She thought if she failed the mission and was dragged to the demon world, she would find the guys who gave her the mission and slap each one of them. Elsewhere, the old madam was recounting the trouble the young lady had recently caused. Their family was in decline, and the merchant guild they belonged to was about to go bankrupt. Without a family head, how would they overcome this crisis? The calm and composed female lead began to exercise. The butler made such a scene that day. She only told him off once, and he backed down. It's the perfect time to do the mission. But why is Resin always at home? There's no chance to get close to him. Meanwhile, where's that damn girl? The family is about to fall. Where is that fool who's causing trouble everywhere? The young master of the Medina family. Kint is also Arna's uncle. Where's that girl? I've already heard about her worshipping a demon god. Luochi, the daughter of the current head of the Medina family, said if this continues, the family will be destroyed by her. Judian, the young madam of the Medina family, said to bring her here first. Judian and Kint's children, Fiona and Belle, said they needed to properly correct her bad habits. Luochi had already instructed the butler to bring all the strong maids. She wanted to teach her a serious lesson. Fiona and Belle couldn't wait and ran over to teach her a lesson. Kint was quite indulgent towards them. Besides, even if news spread that they had taught that fool a lesson, everyone would be on their side. The butler reported to the family head, saying they must teach that madwoman a good lesson. The sleeping Arna had just opened her eyes and found herself in a strange place. But she had clearly gone straight to sleep after exercising, so this might be her dream. It was also her past memory. That was the day she first met Rezin. Her parents, who were thieves, had no money and sold her. She became a slave in a mining quarry. That time she escaped, she saved him who was being chased by a beast. Although she was eventually caught, she got the inspiration from the magic goldfish Rezin used and created her butterflies. However, at this moment, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her hair. Waking up from the dream, she wondered what was happening. She looked up and saw two people standing in front of her. They asked if she slept well. These were the children of the young master that Mira had told her about, the ones who would get her kicked out of the house if she bullied them. Looking at their arrogant expressions, she had no intention of enduring it any longer. She said the two of them were truly arrogant. Their behavior towards her was indeed arrogant. Since they had made a mistake, as an elder, she was qualified to teach them a lesson. Because their status was no different from hers, Belle called her a fool and stepped on her foot. He wanted to make the fool remember her past. Meanwhile, the butler said to Kint, "This time, we must teach her a good lesson." The maids also brought Miss Arna's maid. That maid disobeyed the young master's orders and served Miss Arna very diligently. I don't know what tricks the young lady used to make her so obedient. Look at that detestable brat. Let's punish the maid along with her. After hearing this, Mira knelt down and said she was willing to be beaten in the young lady's place, begging them to spare her. Kint was shocked. Did she take that girl's money? Meanwhile, from the house in front came waves of miserable screams. The female lead grabbed the person, shouting, "Don't touch her." She tightened the ropes on their wrists, shouting for them to return her maid. Judian was very distressed for her son. Their gazes met, and a deal was struck. She loosened their bonds. After being untied, the two of them just cried there, as if they had suffered a great injustice. Although the ropes were just a disguise, and she had used magic, she hadn't used any real force at all. She could only threaten them. "I'll let you go this time without breaking your bones. But not next time. You'd better remember that." King came over and asked her what she had done. "And what about all the trouble she caused while they were away? I heard you're now fawning over that fallen former chancellor, even worming your way into the credit bank founders' gathering, begging them for ways to make money. And you ended up angering His Highness the Crown Prince. They say if the upper beam is not straight, the lower ones will be crooked. Your upper beam is already completely rotten." Kint was furious and was about to slap her. But then an attendant came over and said the family head had woken up. However, they didn't look happy. It seemed they didn't want the family head to wake up. She finally understood. Then she said with a smile, "I've reconsidered. I was truly wrong. I will go before the family head to admit my mistake and accept my punishment. Before that, I have something I want to say to that child alone. Have the maids and servants withdraw." Judian asked if she was okay. "Have you ever seen a mad dog on the street? A dog that runs around everywhere, eats anything, and barks wildly at people. It's really strange. Why is it that recently I can see the shadow of a mad dog from the street in our kind Arna? Tell me, why did you suddenly change?" Although Judian, due to her good birth, always appeared elegant and composed in front of others, she was actually a very cold-blooded and ruthless person. So much so that for a single small mistake, she drove away a maid who had served her for 12 years. Then let's see what her reaction will be if I turn the tables on her. The female lead called her Annie. "Anyone who's walked through death's door will change. Are you unhappy because I called you Annie? Don't even mention being a mother. You haven't even done a good job as an aunt-in-law. If my life is threatened because of you, I will take your 2 children down to the underworld with me. I'm going to see the family head now. You'd better think carefully before you act." Judian was in disbelief. Is she really that fool? After returning, she saw Mira. Myra's concern for her moved her deeply. The family head was barely conscious. Perhaps this might be the last chance to speak with her. After seeing the family head, she will watch her words and actions. That look in her eyes doesn't show hatred for Arna. She must love Arna very much. Thank goodness not everyone in the family hates Arna. She shouldn't be letting her mind wander at a time like this. Only after the maid's reminder did she come to her senses and walk over. She sincerely apologized to the family head. She was serious and was already reflecting on herself. She also wanted to ask her for a favor, something only she could help her with. The family wanted to put her under house arrest in the villa. "Grandmother, can you lift the restrictions on me?" The family head agreed. Then she let out a violent cough. The family head asked if she was still feeling guilty. Her mother had written a letter before she died. The day she went up the mountain with her older sister, only she returned. Her sister had disappeared. Her mother suffered a huge blow from this and passed away from a serious illness. So that's what she was talking about back then. It was Arna's own sister. I also regret losing that child without being able to say a word. But now I must take care of this precious granddaughter before me. When I die, some trust fund will be given to you. Marry early and find someone who can protect you. But she said, my only wish is for grandmother to recover soon. Under grandmother's suspicion, she could have asked for something else. The reputation value has finally increased. Arna wanted to gain her grandmother's approval. Not being recognized by the rest of the family didn't seem to be a regret for her. The magic power inside the family head's body looked chaotic, as if she had been hit by some special poison. The time is blue. And then there's Luachi, who looks completely faithless, yet often goes to a priest to have the holy book blessed. And she insists that Benai pray before the family head with that holy book every day. First, I'll use the family head's hair I just stole to confirm what illness she really has. Before getting close to resin, she must first ensure her grandmother won't die. She helped her raise her reputation value so much. It seems she was also very important to Arna, the life Arna desired. I feel it's a bit like the life I dreamed of in my past life. A life where I could live openly and honorably with the one I love and become famous. What is that? The weather is nice today, isn't it? The female lead introduced it as the puppy she was raising, and she said she wouldn't take it away. She got the deed of gift for this villa and its attached land from the family head. This land is hers now. She hadn't expected the family head to actually give her the villa. I'm also a member of the Medina family. I am qualified enough to receive family property. If you have any dissatisfaction, you can speak up. The rest of you, too. Everyone fell silent at once, especially after the dog barked. They scrambled to flee for their lives. A bunch of overconfident fools daring to challenge me. I need to go out tonight. To the Moda night market. Although the atmosphere in the capital isn't great, this place is still open. On the last day of every month, Moda holds a secret night market known only to insiders. Usually, people come here to trade agricultural products. She came here to find a very skilled healing mage. Money is not an issue. There are a lot of people up ahead. It's a monster fight. It's a competition where low-level monsters born in dungeons are placed in an enclosure, where mages or swordsmen of ultimate master level or higher suppress them with magic power. She was also once a famous expert in monster fighting competitions. However, at this moment, she ran into an acquaintance. The master of the magic tower, Sheer Heisland. Unlike when she deceived the crown prince, she had once connected her magic with this guy. If she gets too close, he will sense her soul. He will soon discover that she is Earl Kona. I haven't seen this guy in so long, but he's become much smoother. When I first met him, he didn't know anything, as innocent as a blank sheet of paper. However, at this moment, the monster escaped. It targeted her as prey. The Magic Tower Master stepped forward to protect her. Although Mantis and Yiksha are both low-level monsters, if they merge into one, their aggression increases. Ordinary mages are easily frightened. Should I play dumb until the end? Sheer said, "Teacher, we finally meet again." In the end, this guy still discovered her soul. The Mantis exploded. She felt they needed to talk somewhere else. That guy Sheer. I left in such a way before, and now that I'm back again, he will surely become more obsessed. Sheer is a difficult child to deal with. It might also be because when we first met, he happened to be suffering from depression, which is why it felt even harder. I was the one who showed him the world. So when I left, I actually felt a little sorry for him. But although I saved him, he's just too obsessed with me. After she finished her bath and came out, those guys from the Niran Duchy wanted to use you, teacher, as a sacrifice to summon a demon god. It might have been the effect of the summoning ritual. When you died in battle, teacher, I heard you were completely turned to ash. But the person who disappeared is now right before my eyes. It's not a side effect, but a miracle, right? Because you came back to life. No one will like it if you just grab a girl's hand like this, she said, and the female lead pushed him away. The shelves next to them were full of skulls. Are you practicing dissection recently? Sheer explained, whenever I miss you, Teacher, I collect skulls that look like you. This madman, you can't just collect skulls. Even if I'm in a hurry to get the imprint, this guy is an absolute no. Because Sheer becomes even weirder when he's with me. Get rid of the skulls. It makes me uncomfortable to have them in front of a living person. He directly crushed one. All right, I'll get rid of these skulls in a while, because you're really back now. The female lead recalled the past when she had to infiltrate the Magic Tower for a year, becoming the tutor for the Magic Tower Master's son who was locked away, to help them steal a designated treasure. In reality, tutor was just a title. She just had to manage him and stop him from going crazy. He had a mental illness. He was the youngest son of the Duke Heisland family, which had served as the Magic Tower Master for generations. Because he couldn't control his abilities, he was a madman who was locked up. If left alone like that, he would probably die within a year. And so, they had their first meeting. Back then, he was just a lonely and simple child. Now he's completely changed. Is this also retribution for meddling in someone else's life? Even if I'm in a hurry, I can't grab a rotten rope. Nothing good will come from getting entangled with him again. I thought they didn't close this early. Keels also appeared here and said, "It seems you've run into some trouble. Perhaps because the moonlight is too bright, all the madmen are out and about." Her luck was bad today. She couldn't use her fan directly, and then she was tied up again. "You made me wait for so long. Why are you just staring at me? I really hate this damn authority." She said she was really annoyed. Do the people of the Niren Duchy recognize this person? An imperial noble who funds the Niren Duchy's carnival. And in the Niren Duchy, which could collapse at any moment, a madman who built a factory. This person illegally established a pharmaceutical factory in the Niren Duchy and used slaves to conduct various experiments, causing over 100 deaths. The female lead looked at him, thinking that death was too good for someone who killed over 100 people. The crown prince was starting to suspect her. Have you heard of a black tea called enro? It's a black tea famous for its fragrance. Because of its unique and strong aroma, enro is often used in poison tea. It's something an ordinary young lady would find hard to know about. Perhaps Keels thinks she is Earl Kona, so he came specifically to test her. Would he kill his substitute so easily? She drank it and even said the tea's aroma was very nice. The crown prince said he was looking for someone. Strangely, whenever I see you, I'm reminded of that person. A woman who owes me something. Why would you, who have no connection to that woman, be holding her fan? She wasn't surprised by this question, but as long as her identity wasn't discovered, it would be fine. So she said with a smile, "It's a fake I had made to attract your highness, Keels." The atmosphere immediately became awkward. "Ever since I saw your highness at the ball, you stole my heart. But in all the news about your highness, a woman named Earl Kona is always mentioned. So I kept imitating that woman to get your highness's attention. And as a result, your highness didn't notice me. So this method was useful, in a way." He was now being toyed with by a fool. He was very angry and told her to get out immediately. The female lead was a bit surprised. Why on earth does he have an expression like he's looking at none? No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't understand Keels' reaction just now. "Young lady, a letter has arrived. This handwriting, Sheer is simply mad. Has he ever thought about how much suspicion it would raise for the Magic Tower Master to personally write a letter to an ordinary young lady? However, the letter's content. The family head is really poisoned. The basilisk, Black Pearl, which only appears in dungeons of ultimate level or higher. The family head was poisoned with Black Pearl, which causes nerve paralysis, mobility issues, and eventual brain damage. Moreover, it's a very difficult poison to detect. It must be thanks to the Magic Tower Master's detailed analysis that it was discovered. She owed that guy a favor. She said to Mira, "Peeking at your master's letter is wrong. Now it's time to officially start the investigation. To administer this poison, it must come into contact with the skin or be ingested directly. So the person most likely to have poisoned the family head should be the caregiver, Benai. Benai is just a caregiver who diligently looks after the family head. Besides Benai, no one else has come to see the family head. What method was used to poison her? I can't find any clues at all. Mira, I heard the caregiver before Benai died. Do you know about this? The young master hired an elderly caregiver for the reason that the wages were cheap. But at that time, the family head's condition deteriorated rapidly, and the caregiver also soon died of pneumonia. After hearing this, she wrote a letter and had Mira immediately take this note to the Magic Tower. This is very important. You absolutely cannot lose it. At night, she waited at the door. Soon, Sheer arrived. Thankfully, he had hidden himself well as she requested. She brought him, saying there was a patient he needed to see. Help me diagnose the head of this family. Lorena, she was puzzled. Whatever happens to these people, it has nothing to do with you, teacher, right? She stated, I just want to solve this family's problems in a gentle way. First, feed her some of the antidote I brought. It should temporarily restore her bodily functions. Not even 5 minutes had passed before the female lead asked, when will she wake up? When the family head woke up, she asked what was going on. There's something very important I want to discuss with you, grandmother. So I asked the magic tower master to help. You're not sick, you're poisoned. The poisoner is likely someone in the family. After hearing this, the family head shouted at her to shut up. So this was the reason she was woken up. The female lead looked at her with concern, not wanting her to die. She had a plan to catch the culprit. Something terrible has happened. The family head has passed away. Everyone came to the family head's bedside, crying and wailing. Family head, you can't leave us. You were the one who gave Mother the medicine, right? Luachi was very agitated and slapped her directly. You just gave Mother poison to drink. That's why she was poisoned, right? What are you all doing? Why are you listening to that madwoman who killed Mother? Kent clamored. Tie her up quickly. Just say the head of the Medina family allowed it. She said she didn't kill her grandmother, but no one listened. She was tied up. Kent said, I will definitely not let you die so easily. They had already begun to discuss how to handle the former family head's funeral. Luachi felt that because of the fake funeral that Madwoman Arna had pulled before, even if they held a funeral for Mother, no one would come. So they decided to hold a simple one at home. Why are you still calling me miss? When we're alone, you should call me darling. As for that fool, could she have really discovered something? Otherwise, how would she know Mother was poisoned? But that poison, it's absolutely undetectable even with an autopsy. It took me a lot of effort to find it. You mean that? That is indeed the only evidence. But when Luachi looked for it, she found it was gone. The female lead slowly stood up. Are you talking about that? It shouldn't be in this room. Luachi said, trembling, what do you know? Spouting nonsense here. You hit it. The female lead looked at her and said, you'd better let go of my hand first. Someone's here. How can we greet them like this? Her guest had finally arrived. Outside the window were carriages lined up in a row. That emblem must be the security knights. Someone really went to the security knights to report the female lead. Bang, bang. She hit the wall, shouting, someone is locked in here, help. I don't want to die now. The door opened, and she fell into a warm embrace. Long ago, she had instructed Mira that if anything happened at home today, she was to go to the security knights headquarters and bring the knights over no matter what. Looking at the person before her, she said, those people killed the family head and wanted to kill me too. Keels had come in person. He even asked about the injuries on her body. You must have been hit by someone. She hadn't expected His Highness to come. Tell me, who hit you? Fear appeared on the foolish Luachi's face. The Crown Prince was going to personally catch the ones who bullied this fool. The people of the Empire are suffering. How could the Crown Prince stand by and do nothing? 1 hour ago, at the Security Knight's headquarters office, he always felt something was strange. The two of them were nothing alike. But why is it that every time I see Miss Medina, I am reminded of Rokona? That woman makes it completely impossible to focus on work. It seems I'll have to kill her. Livel came over to report. He heard that a maid from their family was pestering the security knights, demanding they be dispatched immediately. This was a good opportunity. He would take this chance to properly sort out that foolish lady's family. But it seems someone beat him to it. The Crown Prince was calling him a fool over and over, which made him feel very displeased. But he still pointed out that both of them had laid hands on her. The butler denied it, saying the young lady was only pretending to be a fool. The Crown Prince wouldn't listen to his excuses and started fighting directly. He was next. He was so scared he immediately tried to run away. But no matter how he ran, he was still in the same room. Was it any use? The Crown Prince helped her untie the ropes. Didn't you untie them yourself just fine last time? How come you couldn't do it this time? She said she was being beaten, so how could she have untied them? At this moment, the family head opened her eyes. The captured Luachi didn't dare to move. Didn't Mother pass away? Not long ago, the heroine had given the family head a vial of medicine. Although she would temporarily lose consciousness due to side effects, she would discover the truth of it all. The family head was now very disappointed in them. The Crown Prince, on the other hand, understood. It seemed this family's specialty was faking death. The resurrected family head apologized to the Crown Prince for having involved him in such an unsightly affair. The evidence is this: the item used by the person who attempted to murder their family head. It seems they smeared poison on the page with the prayer pattern in the holy book and let it dry. She will also submit the examination report on her physical condition, issued by the Magic Tower, as evidence. She is also in a poisoned state from touching the holy book. The caregiver who had been looking after the family head until now also passed away because of this holy book. Then the two of them were arrested. Liv-El came up behind him and told him to apply the medicine properly. How come that guy Liv-El makes no sound when he walks? It startled her. When she turned around, she saw her grandmother collapsed on the floor. After receiving His Highness's permission, he took the grandmother away. The Medina family, one of the 10 great families of the empire. Since the family head, Lorina, fell, it has been in gradual decline. From the young head to the head's granddaughter, one after another met with misfortune, so he had been secretly keeping an eye on them. He had originally planned to get rid of the family head and kill everyone else. But now he had spared her. That woman's name is so similar to Earl Kona's, yet her abilities are completely different. But why does she always remind him of that woman, even though that woman is already dead? She looked at his clothes. They were really gorgeous. The Crown Prince explained, "Someone once told me that when you do bad things, you should dress nicely." Oren ordered the knights to withdraw and prepare to return and interrogate the butler immediately. At this moment, Kent, who had excitedly gone to order a coffin, "Uncle should be back soon. He's so happy right now, making arrangements to inherit the estate." The family head landed a punch on the back of his head. "It seems you were really looking forward to my death." The family head was furious and stripped him of his inheritance rights, telling him to fend for himself from now on. "And the rest of you, move out immediately. I heard everything you did to this child. Don't even think about denying it." With the family head on her side, they should be much closer for now. She wanted to start learning the sword again. Previously, she claimed to hate swordsmanship. Now, she no longer wanted to live at the mercy of others. In fact, she had been learning secretly all along and already had one circle of mana. As expected, bloodlines cannot be hidden. If she was like her father and older sister, her talent was certainly enough. She mentioned that regarding her studies, she had also been learning in secret. Thankfully, she had heard about Belle and Fiona from Mira beforehand. Her grandmother was very appreciative of her, but also felt guilty. The heroine smiled. All this time, her grandmother was probably the only one in this family who cared for her. Her grandmother took her hand, saying she would definitely nurture her properly, but first, they had to solve the matter at hand. Regarding asking for His Highness's forgiveness, she actually had a good idea. The Medina family's swords were famous for their high quality, and coincidentally, she had heard about His Highness's preference for swords. A sword that could allow a master of the ultimate level or higher to withstand powerful mana. He would surely be very satisfied. Her grandmother agreed. At the same time, she asked about her relationship with the Magic Tower Master. That night, her grandmother even worked to restore her reputation. It seemed that reconciling with Lorina had been the original Arna's wish. Helping someone realize the life they longed for bit by bit. It wasn't bad. A lot happened within a few days. The butler who bought the smuggled poison was sentenced to death. Luwachi was sentenced to lifelong servitude. And Kent's family moved to the residence farthest from the main house. A dilapidated wooden cabin. Moreover, the heroine received a note telling her to come to the balcony. Sheer had something to say to her. "I heard you're looking for a master-level groom, don't you know? Because of the commotion involving the Medina family, you've become famous throughout the empire. There are rumors about you everywhere." Although he doesn't understand emotions, he thinks this strong feeling he has for her is like, but the heroine knew he didn't actually like her. He wanted to leave. And just like that, the uninvited guest departed. There were so many things to change in this new life. Get rid of all of these. Throw away anything too extravagant. Mira didn't understand, as these were all things she used to like. From now on, there would be no more crazy pink in her wardrobe. Get rid of it immediately. Speaking of which, Keel surprisingly didn't take this dress with him. Then, when she's bored, she can secretly curse him a few times while looking at the dress. The gift from the Medina family has been sent. The Duke said to send it back. Before the Medina family's sword arrived, the Crown Prince was perplexed. Fake funerals were now trending in the capital. Apparently, people were buying low-quality drugs on the black market that induce a state of suspended animation and then holding fake funerals. This is absurd. Issue a proclamation banning fake funerals. Investigate this strictly at once. At that moment, the gift from the Medina family arrived. It was surprisingly made of high-grade ithnium. The Medina family truly lives up to its reputation as master swordsmiths. The characters written in the ancient tongue are also exquisite. Are those things that look like earthworms the ancient tongue? Liv-El had thought they were drawings. Oren was filled with concern for his intelligence. There was also a letter. That foolish young lady made this sword. The power of love is truly great. The young lady declared she wants to marry the most handsome master in the empire. With this sword, tailored to His Highness's preferences, it's obvious who the young lady likes. As it turned out, His Highness overheard. He said to send it back immediately. Back with the heroine, the crown prince had returned the sword. It seemed their family's troubles weren't over yet. It looked like he still hadn't calmed down. The messenger said that after His Highness examined the sword carefully, he remarked, lacking in etiquette. She really didn't understand what that meant. She reassured the family head, the sword will definitely be presented. So, the heroine went to find him. She didn't expect her grandmother to be so worried about her. Keels called for someone, but was asleep himself. In his dream, he saw his mortal enemy. But when he opened his eyes, he saw Arna. Today was the day she was representing the Medina family to have an audience with His Highness. But apparently, His Highness had forgotten. The Crown Prince thought she was too clever. She had previously said she imitated Earl Kona to get his attention. The Crown Prince asked what she planned to do if her plan succeeded, and he became interested in her. If he knew she was really Earl Kona, facing him in this position would surely make him vomit on the spot. Why does he keep bringing up Earl Kona? He's probably testing me. After all, Arna was obsessed with handsome men. The foolish young lady didn't care anymore. The heroine directly took his hand and said that her family disliked her, which was why she pretended to be a fool. Even if His Highness was interested in her, she couldn't reciprocate. After hearing this, the Crown Prince told her to get out immediately. He would make her pay for the crime of toying with the Crown Prince of the Empire. The heroine smiled. Since His Highness was so magnanimous, she said she would definitely be a good person. Now, rumors were spreading that the foolish young lady was actually acquitted. Even the personal intervention of the Crown Prince's direct subordinate, Keels, was useless. This seemed to be the first time a family that His Highness was paying attention to was acquitted. The heroine looked at the information on the resume. The name was Yuni, a former mercenary who had even reached the third circle. Very impressive, but she was very disdainful. Looking at her frail appearance, she still wanted to practice swordsmanship. It was clear she wasn't serious about learning. The heroine asked if she had any intention of working seriously, or if she planned to teach her the basics of swordsmanship from scratch in detail. Do you not want to work, but still want to make easy money? The air suddenly froze, because Yuni's heart had been pierced. But then her expression changed. She said she had skill, but no connections, and didn't know where she came from. She was exactly the kind of talent she wanted. She would hire her. She could just teach her a few things casually, and then do her own thing. However, she had a few conditions. First, no matter what happens, do not interfere with her training. Second, her training is to be done in secret, and no one is allowed to approach her. Finally, pretend to be teaching her diligently. Only then would she be paid on time. If there were no objections, classes would start tomorrow. Mira said that their young lady was really cool. Every time she swung her sword, mana would spread all around. She was not someone who could be described with just the word cool. Mira said that for some reason, the young lady had been training in secret. In fact, their young lady was a genius. Yuni was a little tempted. If she could learn swordsmanship from her, could she also return to the battlefield? The training ended. A message came from the Lauding Fisheries. After reading it, she said, "Mira, help me prepare a red umbrella right now. I'm taking it with me. Go get ready." She might be out for a while today. The matter she had commissioned the Information Guild to do, investigating Count Resin Lowe's information and movements, finally had a response today. The woman who likes to carry a red umbrella goes to the capital every 2 months to check on the buildings under her name and confirm her assets. But they took all his money and only gave her the message this late. A gentleman came up and said these flowers were for her, and he left without saying who sent them. But there was a note on the flowers. What kind of information was it that made her run all over the place? They said it was important information and that she would know once she went inside. After going in, she surprisingly found an acquaintance. She went forward and pretended to be pitiful, saying she had been tricked. Uncle Resin, but it seemed he should be the one saying that. He had been investigating her for a long time. Now he wanted to know why she had come. He was one of the biggest investors in the Information Guild. He found out quickly that someone was buying information on him. He questioned why Arna was investigating him. When she didn't know what to say, Resin helped her cover it up, asking if it was because of her dream of marrying a master. She immediately went along with it, pretending to be embarrassed and saying, "How did you know?" Resin then teased her, saying everyone in the Empire knew by now. The heroine continued, saying that while that was one of her goals, her real goal was to become as strong as a master. She wanted to join his uncle's mercenary group, which made Rezin burst out laughing. With her delicate body, it was absolutely impossible. But she came from a family of knights. If he didn't believe her, she could keep a walnut from being snatched for 5 minutes. But she hadn't expected it. In the blink of an eye, the walnut was gone. Rezin had used magic. He told her not to joke around. Mercenaries were despicable and cruel. Rezin told her to eat the walnut and go back, and to stop making such childish jokes. Her expression turned displeased as she said she was serious. But whether she wanted to join the mercenary group or marry a master, he said he would refuse. However, regarding the mercenary matter, if she could get permission from all her guardians, he would consider it. After returning, she felt helpless. With just those 2 sentences, he had left her speechless. How could she possibly get an imprint like this? In short, what he meant was that Arna needed to get her father's permission. Asking her grandmother about her father should be the fastest way. After returning, she asked her grandmother about her father. Her grandmother didn't know if she should tell her or not. After Arna's older sister went missing, her mother fell ill from grief. Her father was busy with mercenary work and couldn't take good care of her. On the day her mother had a high fever and was seriously ill, he took her to see a doctor. But the doctor refused to treat them. They were very prejudiced against people of the Snow Clan and were unwilling to treat their family. By the time her father returned, her mother had passed away. Because of this, her grandmother also grew to resent her father. Flora was such a perfect and beautiful child. Afterwards, her grandmother drove her father away and kept her. When her parents were living as fugitives, she went to find them once. She saw her older sister. Such a young child already had the bearing of a knight and could even master magic. She was also very beautiful. If she had brought them back then, her sister might still be alive. Her grandmother felt she was wrong about this. She hadn't done anything right. No one could have expected such a tragedy. The heroine told her grandmother not to feel guilty. The child she saw when she was hovering between life and death due to the poison. She clearly saw her eldest grandchild, but when she woke up, it was Arna. Although her grandmother had said she threw away all the letters her father sent, she had actually kept them all, thinking she might want to read them one day. Through these letters, she might be able to find out where her father was. There was no name on the letters, but they were filled with care and concern for his child. And the sender was Lostian. When it comes to the #1 mercenary group in the Empire, none can compare to Rezin's. The mercenary group that has entered dozens of dungeons and owns a large merchant guild that can even circulate in the demon world. But Kraki is also one of the famous elite mercenary groups, and their captain is an 8th level ultimate master, close to becoming a master. He also does volunteer work in dungeons all over the world for free. A famous and wealthy talent. On the snowy mountain where the Snow Clan has always lived, there is an Eastern temple that teaches martial arts and magic. As long as you prove your talent, you can enter. Rezin is from the Eastern Temple. Lostian was his teacher. It's said that their relationship is a secret known only to the leaders of the Niran Duchy. The Eastern Temple is famous for its strong teacher-student bonds. There should be the same. But as a disciple, Rezin probably couldn't refuse a blind date proposed by his teacher. She had to see her father immediately. But in the letter, it said her father was going to the Ice Dragon's lair. Lostian is an 8th circle ultimate master. As long as he catches a legendary dungeon monster, he can become a master. Could that be why? But when that dungeon opened in the past, almost no one came out alive. No, he has to come back. He's the one who's supposed to introduce that steel straight man Rezin to her. On the other side, the students taught by the Magic Tower Master were saying the research results were too poor. At this moment, a subordinate came to report something. He whispered that it was about that young lady. At this time, the heroine was arguing with someone. The clerk said the technology was not feasible. The Magic Tower Master arrived. He smiled and asked why Arna was here. She was in a hurry to use the crystal ball. The recipient was the captain of the Kraki mercenary group, Lostian. On the other side, the Kraki mercenary group's magician, Myrla, asked if the captain was okay. The captain said he was not. After all, he was about to die without seeing Arna. How could he be okay? At this critical moment, a communication unexpectedly came from above. He actually heard his daughter was looking for him, but the communication was quickly cut off. The crystal ball had reached its limit. Unexpectedly, they actually received a reply. Her father called her name. He was overjoyed to know his daughter had contacted him and asked how she was doing. Through the crystal ball, she could see that her father's situation was not very friendly. The ice dragon would breathe cold air to weaken its opponent. It was said that only by maintaining a clear mind and a burning fighting spirit could one survive in its cold breath. How could she ignite her father's fighting spirit just as her father was about to hang up? She had an idea. She told her father to come back and bring her a melon cake. Her father was very moved because his daughter said he had to buy it himself. She knew the ice dragon's weakness. There was a spot under its chin without scales. If he pierced it there first, he could immediately cut off its head. Her father asked how she knew. She could only attribute it to the Magic Tower Master. And at this moment, her father thought she was in love. After that, there was no response. The Magic Tower Master thought his teacher's father was really interesting. That night, they went for a walk outside together. The Magic Tower Master wanted her to visit him more often for old times' sake. He had stayed in the house since he was a child and had never gone out, but he was willing to take her out to have fun. After careful observation, the heroine realized that Sheer, who was always by her side, had a special constitution. His mana couldn't be controlled. People with such a constitution usually have short lifespans and have demon blood in them. This full moon constitution scared him, but she was the one who saved him, even though he was just there to steal something. One of the great, unknown secrets is that defeating a monster in a legendary dungeon grants a protection mechanism. But what she got was the ability to ask for information about the demon world. At that time, she thought she had drawn a completely useless skill. She never expected it to be useful now. The Magic Tower Master's son, Sheer with the full moon constitution. She had found a way to save the child with demon blood. First, he needed to know about the mandra. This was a flower known as the essence of mana, which takes 100 years to cultivate. It was also the reason he was sent here. If he ate it, his already powerful mana would become even stronger, and then he would die from it going berserk. He could have left after completing his mission, but now he wanted to save this child. The two just needed to switch bodies. By using a forbidden magic like body swapping, her soul could enter his body, and she could calm his overheating mana. And she was a master. Others might not be able to do it, but she could. Of course, there would be side effects. Those who receive demon magic will unconditionally lose something precious. He was very worried that his teacher would disappear, but since she was the one casting the spell, she probably wouldn't. The magic was successfully cast. What Sheer lost was his emotions. His morals also became numb. He completely became another person. There were also some completely unexpected side effects. For example, when their mana was connected, she wished for time to stand still. Sheer began to be very obsessed with her, but thankfully, he didn't come looking for her. He became the Magic Tower Master through his own solitary training. And just by holding hands, Sheer was overjoyed. This put her in a difficult position. If a new master appeared, it would cause a sensation throughout the empire. But so far, there was no news. Could it be that the situation in the dungeon was very grim? The heroine was filled with worry. In fact, she had respected Lostian for a long time. In her previous life, everyone's opinion of her was that she was just a pretty face. They called her trash. But Lostian stood up and defended her. It was the first time someone had stood up for her. It felt good to have someone stand up for her. The person next to her told her not to listen to that filth. If he were to enter a dungeon, he would rather entrust his bag to her than to those bug-like guys. That person was Resin, but she wouldn't reveal his identity. She hoped to meet him in a dungeon one day. The heroine knew he no longer remembered her. Why did she feel that Resin and Lostian had some kind of connection with her since her past life? In the end, she went out. Would the mercenary guild have news of Lostian? At that moment, a voice came from behind. "Miss Arna, why are you pretending not to know me? It's me, Biss." He claimed to be the young lady's boyfriend. What was this about, Biss? But he did know about the foolish Miss Arna, who was entangled in numerous scandals. There were rumors that she frequented a strange shop where men appeared. Biss said that ever since she took that dagger that could grant wishes, she had never contacted him again. It was a very expensive, holy relic. That dagger was actually given by this man. She couldn't have mentioned his name when she bought that dagger, could she? But Biss said, of course. He said he had an incredibly noble lady backing him, which is why they gave him the dagger. No wonder Keels came to arrest me right away. Anyway, he went through a lot of trouble to buy that dagger and wanted to ask her for money. The heroine was speechless and told him to just leave. If he wanted to live a long life, he shouldn't casually talk about the dagger outside. Biss's face changed. He had put a lot of effort into her. If she left just like that, he would tell others about it. However, a person appeared behind him. It was her father. What money? Lostian was annoyed. Who is this guy? How dare this punk interrupt their father-daughter reunion? Bis was thrown to the ground, which seemed to crack. Her father wanted to continue, but the heroine had something to say to him. She asked her father to leave him barely alive. The heroine told him to stop whining and get up. The heroine threatened him. If you dare to speak nonsense, just you wait. Is this enough for hush money? I trust you'll keep the secret. Now she had other things to do. Time to confirm something important. The heroine smiled and said, "You've been waiting a long time, haven't you?" Her father asked about the situation. She said she was fine and everything was resolved. Her father, citizen, was nearby and asked if she wanted to have a cup of tea before leaving. She took her father's hand and said she was really happy to see him after so long. Her father was emotional. He said he would go get the carriage and told her to wait. At her fingertips, she could feel the mana of a 9-circle ice dragon. She had actually become the daughter of a master. Resin, just you wait. He'll get on good terms with Lostian. He has to get him, no matter what. This is the residence of the Crocky mercenary group. Although she expected it, he really was rich. Mira came out and asked who the pretty girl was. Knowing her identity, she said that this was the legendary daughter. Then they greeted each other. She also told the captain that he had put it in the reception room. Let's quickly take Arna to the reception room. What are all these? He actually remembered to buy melon cake. Lostian was nervous that she wouldn't like it. It's unimaginable that he would be like this because of his daughter. For the first time, she was a little envious of Arna. Let me borrow her dad for a bit. If she also had a father like this, would she be a little happier? Speaking of grandma, father's face darkened. Grandma Lorena didn't allow father to come near the house at all. She had to change the subject. Congratulations on becoming a master, father. The tower master told me everything. What father did was very dangerous. Father was very emotional. The way Arna talks is exactly like Flora. How could she be so much like Arna's birth mother? The protagonist asked her father why he went to catch the ice dragon. Was it to become a master? Father said it was to fulfill his dream. Doesn't she want to become a true noble? He had already thought it through. If he never got close to his daughter and just lived his own life quietly, in the future, he would let her become her uncle's adopted daughter. So he thought that if he became more powerful, perhaps it would help her future. The protagonist was very moved after hearing this. She can become a true noble right now. She could try the method he mentioned, thinking that her father cared for her deeply. A 100-point increase in reputation is amazing. Arna's regrets will make the reputation value even higher. It seems she also wanted to get along well with her father. Arna's life and her mission seemed to be resolving smoothly. It was a bit late when she went to see her grandmother, but Grandma was already waiting for her. Grandma knew she had met her father. The Empire's 4th master was born. Grandma had something to ask her. Had she already reconciled with her father? The protagonist said, of course. To Grandma, he must be like a thief who stole her beloved daughter. She also knew, right now, the Medina family is just a family with a fancy exterior. Although we still have this house and a manufacturing franchise, there's really no future. Her father is now a master. He should have social status and be very rich. Considering her future, it's better for her to be with Lostian. But when Grandma said this, her expression was terrible. Although she didn't only have good memories of this house, it was, after all, the place where she grew up. Just as she was about to leave, Grandma explained. She wasn't dragging her feet because she didn't want to register her in the family. Although the only way to make her part of the Medina family's direct line was to have her become Uncle Kent's adopted daughter. But Kent used this to blackmail her into handing over the family's authority. But after she handed the authority to him, the family declined. She felt like they had a misunderstanding about her. On her way back, the protagonist thought, Grandma, really? If there's a misunderstanding, why not just clear it up in person? Suddenly, she heard a loud noise. It's Kent. Where's he going alone? Is he going to the main house? But isn't he still under house arrest? Recently, because of young Master Kent's debts, strange people have been coming in and out of the main house. Is he going to talk to the family head about his debts? Actually, she just needs to win over Resin through Lostian. If something happens to this family, she can leave. But what about Grandma? Kent was saying he found a chance to pay off the family's debts. He found out about a big shot who could buy this house. But who would buy such a large house in the center of the capital? Grandma was furious. How dare he mention Arna? He's truly shameless. Arna just needs to leave this house. Isn't this whole situation his fault in the first place? The protagonist listened from outside. The 2 children the family had raised are truly hopeless. So she walked in, saying, your granddaughter is here. Kent's attitude towards her was very bad, saying the adults were discussing important matters. telling me to get out immediately. What for? She acted pitiful, saying she just wanted to have some tea with Grandma. Isn't Uncle the one who's banned from the main house? Grandma told him to get out immediately. In the end, she found out. It was an IOU. The interest was very high. Now, not just the merchant guild, but the entire family is going bankrupt. The protagonist took a look and said Grandma absolutely cannot sell the house. We must keep the house in the capital, no matter what. The manufacturing plant has already reopened. As long as we pay off the debt, even if we can't be like before, we can recover to a certain extent. She said she would figure something out. After returning, she thought about whether to go with her father or stay with the Medina family. Choosing one of the two was not her style. If this family is failing, she'll find a way to fix it. A wealthy grandmother and a famous, capable father. In this life, she wants to have all these advantages. Besides, the family is poor. Can't I just make the family rich again? Meanwhile, Oren asked, what is the reason for suddenly requesting a peerage? Mr. Lostian, a long time ago, when the Empire conquered other peoples, they accepted all who submitted to them. In this process, some chieftains of other tribes demanded noble status in the Empire. The Empire didn't want to cause unrest, so they granted various ranks of peerage to the chieftains of other tribes. And Lostian happens to be from the family of the Snow tribe's chieftain. After listening to her, Lostian wrote a petition asking the imperial family to grant him a peerage. Would the imperial family want to see him master on bad terms with the Empire? The imperial family responded immediately. It's because she hinted at filing a lawsuit. The imperial family summoned him at once. Seeing them react so quickly, they had practically already won. Speaking of which, this reversal is truly surprising. Oren hadn't expected the young lady to have such an outstanding father. She said this father has the royal blood of the Snow tribe, so even in the Empire, he should be recognized as a noble. If he becomes an imperial noble, he might be forcibly conscripted during wartime. In that case, just take all the territory and money and become a true noble. The protagonist talked about territorial privileges. What kind of person did he take her father for? As far as her father was concerned, even without laws or money, he could survive. As for the reason, it's of course for a better world. A world where the Snow tribe is not discriminated against. What classic case this will be. Listening to this rhetoric, it's hard to tell if she's a scammer or just eloquent. She's truly a talent suited for diplomatic affairs. It will indeed help change the image of the Snow tribe within the Empire. Then, signing this letter of guarantee is a good idea. Today, they will immediately go see the person in charge to obtain the peerage. That's great, too. The protagonist was happy for her father. Why does she feel a chill down her spine? But who is this person in charge? He said it's His Highness, the Crown Prince. Oren seems so friendly. So the Empire's attitude toward the master is very good. His Highness the Crown Prince said she was also very dazzling today. It was blinding. But why is he looking at her? The Crown Prince said, I have heard that you have always fought for the weak and achieved great merits. The Empire is moved by your good deeds. The protagonist was a bit shocked. That madman is actually pretending to be normal. How annoying. For his daughter's sake. Father wants to become a noble as soon as possible. So he agreed to the Crown Prince's contract. But she has to go too. But the Crown Prince wouldn't let her go. After not seeing him for a long time, she actually missed him a little. The protagonist bowed to him, but the Crown Prince teased her for not being sincere. At this moment, he was about to grab her hand. Her pulse isn't beating very fast today. The fool who suddenly wants to make her father a noble. What's the reason for this? Without him saying anything, she was about to leave anyway. She pulled her hand back, thinking his personality is really strange. The Crown Prince watched her, thinking what a bad temper. She took the carriage back and found everything went smoothly. Arna wants to become the most outstanding young lady. This dream can actually be realized this way. Father even asked how they knew each other. He said that His Highness is not suitable. His status is too noble. He suspected they were dating. But what was he talking about? She had no interest in His Highness the Crown Prince at all. But she could test the waters by saying she has someone she likes. Rezin is the person who completely fits her ideal type. But Father said no and was unwilling to say why. The atmosphere was simply awkward. She didn't even have a chance to ask what happened between him and Rezin. She wanted to use this opportunity to clear up the misunderstanding between him and Grandma, which is why she brought him back directly. It got even colder. She had to say something quickly. She told Grandma she had something to tell her. Father's royal bloodline of the Snow tribe has been recognized, and he has been made a baron. Should she accept Father's investment and then repay the debt later through dividends? please formally acknowledge her father and mother's marriage now. So her meaning was to add her mother's name to her father's family register. Father knelt and said he knew this request was very sudden, but he couldn't let Arna continue to have the status of an illegitimate child. Only by acknowledging their marriage can Arna get rid of her illegitimate status. This is his long-cherished wish, and it was also Flora's wish. She could understand the reason for acknowledging their marriage, but as she just said, even so, Arna would not have a right of inheritance. The protagonist reminded her. Actually, all she had to do was acknowledge father as a matrilocal husband, a system established for noble families without a son to inherit the family business in order to pass the headship to a daughter. Although there's still Uncle Kent, by using this system, father can become a matrilocal husband. But Grandma also had one condition. Does Arna want to formally learn the family business? Didn't she choose this family? Perhaps this family will see a second-generation female head. If Lostian becomes a matrilocal husband, then Arna will be qualified to become the family head. The protagonist was shocked to hear this. Grandma would make preparations first, allowing her to start with work at the Merchant Guild. Consider it a reward for her, and in return for her father's help. Also, if he wants to see his daughter, he can come over anytime. Father was very grateful to his mother-in-law. She became a director of the Medina Merchant Guild. Her social status rose. Reputation increased without incident. She didn't expect Grandma to make her a registered director. Last time Uncle Kent said he wanted her to sell the house, she went to inquire about it. There are some people who specifically target nobles, designing schemes to get them involved in gambling or investments, and then incur debt. Then they commit fraud under the pretext of helping them pay off their debts by selling their house. That guy Kent is still so clueless. It seems Kent has now been completely given up on by Grandma. Arna's life improvement mission is also going smoothly. Everything was proceeding according to Arna's plan. However, at this moment, someone was quietly approaching her.